Welcome to Say More from Boston Globe Opinion. I'm Shirley Leung. It was years in the making. Massachusetts has convinced toy company Hasbro to move its global headquarters to Boston. Goodbye, Rhode Island.
I want to start by just saying what great news it is that Hasbro is moving to Massachusetts. And
if you don't remember which toys are made by this company, our governor, Maura Healey, is more than happy to remind you.
Yes. I mean, all your favorites, right? My Little Pony, Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. Potato Head. Yes, there is. Monopoly, Clue, by way of Parker Brothers.
At a recent press conference, Healey was like a kid in a candy shop.
I think about Twister, Jenga, Yahtzee, Play-Doh, the game of life.
Downright giddy about the bragging rights and the 700 jobs Hasbro will bring. I myself wrote a column early this year appealing directly to Hasbro's CEO to make the move to Massachusetts. Well, because it's all about us. It would make our state a little less nerdy and a little more fun. And back to our roots, as it turns out. I'm here again in the studio with Jon Chesto, who works with me on the Globe business desk. He was so good at talking about Market Basket, we had to have him back on the show. Jon, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
So I did a bit of a deep dive on our toy history here in Massachusetts. It's pretty fascinating, as you know. Massachusetts is the historic home of the company Milton Bradley, and we found all these old ads. There's Yahtzee.
Yahtzee, that dice-rolling strategy game you play like cards. Roll yourself a hand.
You remember Battleship.
Milton Bradley's great game of strategy. It's loaded with action and suspense. Play it anytime, anywhere.
The Game of Life was invented here.
The game of life, the game of life. You will learn about life when you play the game of life.
We also had Parker Brothers based in Salem, which is famous for mass-producing Monopoly.
To play the game, I buy real estate, hotels, fancy cars, even railroads, and I take chances to make it big.
I mean, really having Hasbro come back to Boston, it's really returned. It's really a coming home, right? For
when
brands.
you think about all the games that we know and love at Parker Brothers and Milton Bradley, you could say it's a homecoming of sorts. Hasbro's grown and changed over time, so they've brought other brands from other parts of the country. So it's not just New England focused brands anymore there.
Our former colleague Scott Kersner wrote a column back in 2023 talking about the arrival of Lego's North American headquarters in Boston and how that was an opportunity for Boston to be fun, to embrace our lighter side. And so we're not like all life sciences and hard to explain technology, right? We can also be this toys and game capital. I think everybody likes to call us Toy Town now, right? So do you think now that we have Lego and Hasbro that we're cornering a new market?
Well, to be honest, there's really only one other major toy company that could possibly move here, aside from the Asian toy companies, which definitely won't move here, and that's Mattel. And I don't see Mattel moving here from the LA area anytime soon.
I don't think so either.
So, both companies have, Lego and soon Hasbro will have 700 plus workers. So 1,500 people or more will be working for toy companies in Boston. That's no small thing. Maybe we'll see some spin-outs from people who leave to start their own toy companies. But more importantly, the Boston area has been sort of known for business-focused companies, B2Bs, but we do have a growing consumer tech focus, specifically Wayfair and Shark Ninja are large publicly traded companies. I mean, Shark Ninja is really on fire right now. Pretty soon they'll be making everything in your house. And
there's iRobot here, too.
iRobot's here, hopefully
Roomba,
for a little
right?
longer. They did invent the Roomba. So we have a robotics sector that's good with both consumer applications as well as business applications. So I don't necessarily see another big toy company moving here, but I think it's good to highlight the fact that we have strong consumer businesses here. Another group that is worth mentioning are all the running shoe companies.
That's right.
We have a long legacy, both because Massachusetts was a shoe manufacturing capital once upon a time, and also there's a huge running culture here. And so that has contributed to this, have this cluster of running shoe companies, Converse,
New
Balance,
Puma has
Puma.
has a big
Puma's North
presence here.
American headquarters
Converse,
in Somerville.
Converse, right?
Converse, Saucony, Reebok, of course.
That's right.
So there's no other cluster like this in the world in terms of all the different running shoe brands here. So I think that the success of bringing Hasbro and Lego here will highlight or underscore just, we have, a fun, consumer-oriented section or aspect of our business community.
I mean, were you surprised when Lego, which uprooted its North American headquarters from suburban Connecticut, and Hasbro coming to Boston? I mean, were you surprised? Like, why here? I mean, was it apparent to you why they would come here?
The number one thing, and this is, we may get into this, but I really feel there's a strong case for these outlying New England companies to move into the city. At one point, companies expected talent to move where they were. Now the balance has shifted, and companies want to be where the talent is, and that means the cities. And I feel like the Hasbro win is a great notch in the city success story in general. There was a little bit of concern when COVID hit and people started fleeing cities, like, oh, is the era of the city behind us? Because running up to that, Boston and several other cities really saw a number of corporate relocations that really helped buoy their economies. In Boston, for example, GE moved here from Connecticut, and Lexion moved here from Connecticut. And the advantage of these companies moving to the big city in New England versus, moving out of the region is that they can relocate to an area where the young talent wants to be, but they can also, the executives can take their time shuttling back and forth. So it's a little more doable versus uprooting completely. There's no question that younger workers mostly prefer being in an urban area where they can meet other people their age, and there's so much to do.
I mean, I was struck too about how when you think of the toy business, you think of like, oh, it's just plastic, right? And it's pretty basic, but it seems like these companies really need a sophisticated talent, right? Maybe they do need some more people with tech talent. I also remember interviewing someone in the toy industry who said there's a lot of marketing talent that you need. You need to do these product launches around toys. And so it's easier to attract that kind of talent in Boston versus in Pawtucket, or where was Lego? Enfield, Connecticut?
Yeah, Enfield,
where is
Connecticut.
that?
That's north. It's essentially between Springfield and Hartford.
So this Hasbro relo, I mean, it's been years in the making. It predated Governor Healy, right? I think you started writing about it.
Yeah, I was covering it back when the Baker administration was starting to try to bring them here. What really prompted that was the previous CEO of Hasbro really wanted to get out of that old industrial building. He was looking at Providence, which is a fun city for younger workers to be in as well. And the Baker administration didn't have that much luck getting traction. They were, and what's interesting is at the time they were sort of looking at various suburban locations for Hasbro, which really wasn't the right sell. Hasbro wanted to be in an urban location, and the CEO of Hasbro at the time really was looking at Providence. And then, the COVID hit. The CEO unfortunately died. He was fighting cancer. And the new CEO, Chris Cox, he had other things he had to deal with before he had to start thinking about, what are we going to do about the headquarters?
And Rhode Island really rolled out the red carpet, really, really wanted Hasbro to stay, right? I mean,
that's true. Massachusetts offered $14 million in incentives, but the value of Rhode Island's package was multiples of that. And some of that, I think, is feeling burned from when the Pawtucket Red Sox got lured to Worcester and
Poor
are now, of course,
Pawtucket.
I know you got to feel bad for Pawtucket.
I want to go visit Pawtucket. I want to see what we did to them.
They also lost their hospital too.
Really?
Yeah, their hospital closed
Wow.
around the time that the Paw Sox were leaving town.
Wow.
But they do have a new soccer stadium.
Oh, that's right.
So that's
right.
a hit.
Probably the newest soccer stadium in New England, right?
Yes, and it's doing well.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
there's a reason to go to Pawtucket, and they have a commuter rail station that's relatively new too.
How big a factor was, Massachusetts giving Hasbro $14 million in state tax credits? I mean, how big a factor was that in getting Hasbro to come here?
I think it was a modest factor. The state had to give something. Hasbro's a publicly traded company, and Hasbro is going to spend $25 million on these renovations of the building that they're moving into. So you really don't want to give activist shareholders any reason to cause some agita. You want to be able to say, oh, listen, this is a financially sound move. And I do think it'll pay off for Hasbro. I don't know the terms of the deal, but it's basically a sublease with Foundation Medicine. So Foundation Medicine was very eager to kind of unload these floors. So
I think
I'm
they
sure
got a very good deal.
I think they got.
Yeah.
I just talking to brokers who were hawking their own properties. There were some much better. I don't say much better properties, but there were other nice properties that were being offered to Hasbro, but they just couldn't compete with the sublease that Foundation Medicine was offering.
And this ended up being, I think, one of the biggest leases, right, signed in the Boston market in a long, long time.
Lego was also a really big one.
Yeah.
It's great to fill up some of that space. I mean, we still have a 20 to 25% vacancy rate in our offices. Both of these, Lego and Hasbro, notably are moving into what are essentially new buildings.
So, in this day and age of remote work and hybrid workplaces, I mean, do headquarters still matter anymore? Having the bragging rights to say, oh, we got GE or Hasbro or Lego?
I think they matter for a few reasons. Right now, most of these companies want their people in the office at least 3 times a week. And so you kind of need to have a physical presence. And that's why, Hasbro can't stay in Pawtucket anymore. So it's important to get these headquarters offices that help build the economy, you help support the small businesses on the street level, help support the property values of the towers, and which essentially supports the budget for the city.
So maybe it's more important than ever.
In some way it is. You might say there's less to go around because companies are taking smaller footprints.
Right.
The few big whales that we've landed, we need them because these leases, it used to be leases over 100,000 square feet in Boston were commonplace. Now they're rare. These are 6-figure leases, and it's great for us, but we need them. We need more of them.
More of my conversation with Jon Chesto after a short break. So, Jon, the Lego headquarters moved from Enfield, Connecticut, to Boston. Hasbro moved from Pawtucket, poor Pawtucket. So we're very good at snagging these companies from other New England states. I mean, should we even be cheering that we stole from little old Rhode Island?
Well, this has come up in the Hasbro discussion. And I remember talking to Yvonne Howe, who was the State Economic Development Secretary about this at the time, that sort of spearheaded this. And she basically said, well, better that we get it than someplace outside of New England.
That's right.
And the reality is she didn't proactively go after Hasbro. She happened to be in a dinner with the CEO, and he was lamenting the fact that it was hard to attract talent and into Pawtucket. And Yvonne said, well, we might have a solution for you. Do we want to be cannibalizing from our New England states? Not necessarily, but like I said before, these companies for the most part, need to be in urban areas if they want to attract the best and the brightest. And that's why we've seen, Alexion on the biotech side. We saw GE. We saw, Hasbro and Lego all move here from I guess you could say, New Haven is where Alexion moved here. It's somewhat urban, but, they're going to the bigger city to attract talent. It's better than losing them entirely.
Right.
You sort of have to play the hand that's dealt you rather than being cordial and saying, oh, no, we don't want to steal from our friends and neighbors. I mean, these companies, if they decide, okay, we don't like our headquarters, then you got to get into the mix.
So the Globe editorial board recently wrote an editorial basically calling out Massachusetts. On the one hand, Governor Healy is cheering this Hasbro move. The Massachusetts Taxpayers Foundation has this competitive index report ranking the Commonwealth dead last in the nation for private employer growth between 2023 and 2024. So what do you think about that? I mean, is the editorial board right?
I guess what I'd say about this is that it's fair to celebrate Hasbro moving here. But the state, make no mistake, the state's not looking at Rhode Island and Connecticut and figuring out how we can compete with them. The state's looking at places like North Carolina, Texas, Florida. How do we compete with them? They're the biggest factors that are hurting our business community are cost factors. High housing for employees, high energy costs, high health care. They know that we have to address the things that put us at the bottom of these lists. I mean, the Tax Foundation has ranked us 41st in terms of favorable tax issues, tax policies. We dropped many notches when the millionaires tax was adopted. Right. We're still better off we're around the same level as Rhode Island. We're better off than Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. But I mean, New Hampshire is in the top 10 every year. And North Carolina, who really is, that we have to watch out for North Carolina. North Carolina, I think, is 12th in the most recent state-by-state ranking. We're seeing developers here. Most of the big developers, not most, many of the big developers are developing in North Carolina and some of the other southern states.
They're doing life science labs
and
down there.
Very, very interesting. North Carolina sees us. They're coming after us. The Chamber of Commerce, Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, did a bit of a field trip down there in 2023. And as part of the presentation, they showed the research triangle overlaid with a map of Cambridge, Somerville, and Boston. And it was basically to show, look, we have so much space compared to your tight little communities that we can offer your companies. And it really was a bit of an eye-opening moment for the business community here that went on that trip to see that. So I think the editorial is trying to say drive a point home that I think the Healy administration and the business community are really focused on is how do we make the state more competitive broadly? How do we just make it easier to do business here? But it's a long way to go to solve some of these problems.
Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think we should be really concerned about losing our competitive edge?
I think we should be. I think the fact that we haven't really bounced back with employment from the beginning of the pandemic.
We're losing tens of thousands of jobs.
Yeah,
still.
and our job growth, if you can call it that, it's really a contraction. Is almost either, depending on how you look at it, last in the nation or one of the last. I mean, what is that? What's going on? Well, we've been losing anywhere from 25 to 55,000 people a year in domestic net outmigration. I think under the Healy administration, it swung back a little, but I think that's a lot of that is just sort of the natural. When COVID hit, there was a big burst of people leaving. Now, you've written about sort of the impact that what the Trump administration's cuts to federal research could mean to our research institutions, which are really sort of the big underpinning of our economic success. So we have to worry about that.
And we're going to have foreign competition because our American competitors, whether it's North Carolina or San Francisco, they're going to feel the hurt from research cuts. But globally,
now we need to worry about Europe and China.
Right.
China and many countries in Europe will actually put their own government money behind attracting the scientists from places like Cambridge and Boston. And so we do have to worry about that.
I wrote recently about the other Cambridge in the United Kingdom, and they see an opening. I mean, the University of Cambridge and their affiliates, they have a lot of Nobel Prizes. They think that they can create a Kendall Square-like atmosphere there. And in fact, they have people visiting from Massachusetts trying to figure out how can we recreate what Boston has with life sciences. And so I think we do have to watch our back.
Yeah, it's a challenging time. I think we can't be complacent.
Yeah. So big picture, what could Massachusetts do to stay competitive?
Well, addressing costs is a start. The state government's got to look at ways to control energy costs. They're really high. The Healy administration has really put a lot of effort into building homes. I mean, we've seen the MBTA Communities Act come out, which was originally passed under her predecessor, but she is really taking it and running with it. They've even started a standalone organization to raise money to help support it, promoting it at the local level. So they're all in getting more homes built, and that's challenging in a place like Massachusetts that's land constrained. Every community has sort of different rules, and many people don't want to see be overburdened, as they would say, with new traffic or more kids in the schools. So that's one thing to really look closely at, is how do we control costs. Two things that the Healy administration is doing right now to address competitiveness that I think are important. One is they're pushing a bill that would set aside $400 million for research universities that are losing federal funds to help supplant those losses. That so far has not been embraced by the legislature, but it's early. They may come around to it. The other thing the administration is doing is creating this new competitiveness council. The governor just announced that she's got Dan Canary, who founded Harpoon Brewery, and Mark Nunnally, who used to be a managing partner at Bain Capital, to run this council. And it's going to feature business appointees from all over the state to look at these issues and find out what the state can do. They haven't quite figured out what form these recommendations may come in. Are they going to look at regulations? Are they going to look at legislation? I have a feeling they'll probably look at both. But the policies that the state should look at to make us more competitive. This is in the context of a re-election campaign. There are now 3 Republicans that have said they want to run against Maura Healey next year. And I think all 3 will try to make competitiveness a part of their campaigns, will make it a political issue. And certainly some of the right-leaning groups in Massachusetts have already really been hammering Healey on competitiveness. So it makes sense that the governor's trying to respond to that criticism in advance.
Okay, let's end on a fun note, because that's how we started. What other fun company you think should move its headquarters here now?
Oh, that's a good one. What fun company can, I would love to see another video game company.
That's good.
We had computer game companies growing here.
We do?
We did have a cluster of really there was a brief moment when they were really successful, and they've all sort of been swallowed up.
Yeah.
So I think, and I think, given the computing talent
I think the city of Boston, I think Shagun Udawu has wanted that, the chief economic development officer. I think he's talked about that.
Yeah.
So my idea, and you flecked at it, which is I think Hasbro should build a flagship store, like retail store in the Seaport, or maybe it could be downtown, and it would be like the FAO shorts, right, or their version, or you could do it in the Seaport. You're right by Boston Children's Museum. You could create like a kids zone, right, in the Seaport. What do you think?
I would love to see it, and I've sort of been hopeful about it, because obviously you and I both heard that they were thinking about a retail space.
Yeah.
So far, that's not part of the plans, but that would be a lot of fun.
A little one. I think they might do a little one, but not like big.
Yeah.
Not like tourists come here and
you
want a
have something that people are going to come to Boston for.
Right. A
And
destination
I think there's still
store.
enough empty space in the city that I think we could find a place for that.
Yeah, maybe that's our next set of columns.
Yeah,
right.
Get them into downtown.
Right. All right. Well, Jon, this has been so much fun. Jon Chesto is a business reporter here at the Boston Globe. Both of us have done some great reporting on the Hasbro move and other headquarter moves. Check out our articles in our show notes. Thanks, Jon, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Say More is a production of the Boston Globe. Today's episode was produced by Anna Kussmer. Our editor is Jim Dow. Our engineer is Zuzair Ahmed. If you like the show, please follow us and leave a review. You can email us at saymore@globe.com. I'm Shirley Leung. Thanks for listening.